Yo. What's happening, fellas? What a week it has been. What a week it has been.
What a week has it been?
So what's type of thought for y'all? Steve, we'll start with you, man. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I continue to like probably most people. I know we're talking about later, concerned about what's going on in the Department of Ed, but also just watching the stock market take a tumble, man. I don't know. I'm gonna have to start maybe putting my money in my mattress or something because the stock market is not looking right now.
Bro, it's interesting that you should say that, right? Because like, we're all, well, not we're all, because Graham is like 20. But
He's 22. He's 22.
Yeah, thank you.
But so as you start to think about, because a lot of people aren't thinking this way, but like as you start to think about damn retirement or whatever, and like having a nest egg and like all the things, right? You start really looking at these markets, and you see the fluctuation or the market manipulation, right? Because it depends on what lens you're looking at.
What lens you have, yeah.
Right. Because like a lot of this is market manipulation. It's like, all right, well, let me say some dumb shit today so the markets could tank, so that billionaires can buy or whatever, and then they're gonna end up eating more than what they're eating now. But a lot of people don't get that, right? I do.
No, it's bananas, man. I'm only 11 months away from AARP membership, and so that retirement's on the mind.
Yeah, retirement is definitely on the mind, bro. They make that cliche, and I think this is a lie. If you find a job that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. No, that's bullshit, bro. That is BS, bro. Like, I'm out here working, bro.
Yeah, the only way you don't work a day in your life is if you actually don't work a day in your life.
Facts.
Yeah, man.
G, check it in, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I've been listening to this audiobook about the Challenger, the space shuttle crash or explosion that happened in the mid 80s, and it's really interesting to learn about NASA. It's like rise, and then it's all the ways that it struggled with budget overruns, and quality control issues, but also just the heroism of the astronauts. It's a really interesting book. It's called Challenger. It's really good.
So,
some of us are old enough to have been in elementary school and watch that happen live.
That's fact.
Yeah, that's. It was the first year of my life, so I wasn't in school yet. But
all right, bye. Good to see everybody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, since I'm 22, since you're gonna call me 22,
I said 20. So
and I actually happen to be playing with this. I play with this like whenever we're talking. This is like a Lego space shuttle. It's like always.
There you go.
Good brother Ronald McNair, from North Carolina A&T fame. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're talking about the Department of Ed. Let's run it down. So, all right. So, oh man, over 1,300 workers fired. Calling this a reduction by half. And so Linda McMahon, who was recently approved to be the Department of Education secretary, said that the reduction it reflects the Department of Education's commitment to efficiency. Bro, so here's the deal. And I don't know how you guys feel like, bro, I in the whole scheme of things, I do feel like government is bloated, right? Like I feel like government is bloated, and there are some things that can be done in order to kind of streamline things. Is this the way? I don't think so. What are y'all's thoughts?
This is the way to hobble a department. This isn't a way to make it efficient, right? I mean, I think Elon likes to run around with his chainsaw, right? And I think this what we're seeing is the difference between a chainsaw and a scalpel, right? I'm not saying that big cuts don't need to be made in key places, and I think there are some places where big cuts need to be made, but I think you go in with a scalpel, you don't go in with a chainsaw, right? I think it is negligent at best and evil at worst to go in and just say, hey, we're just going to reduce by half, because some parts of the offices they're lost 60% of their staff. It wasn't like half across the board. Some departments lost big majorities of their staff. And so if your intent is to hobble the Department of Education, then you've done a good job.
Yeah. Gee.
Yeah, man. I mean, we kind of saw this, the door was darkened in all these other departments, and it was only a matter of time before the Department of Ed got hit. I think like I get in some like back part of my mind the conceptual idea that they want to redistribute the responsibility to the states, and therefore shuttering the department completely is like one step toward doing that. I understand that premise, but this execution, it just doesn't make any sense to me if you actually want to make sure that all of those responsibilities are effectively transferred to states. If you're thinking about all of the money that's just tied up in the Department of Education right now that has to get out to kids for Title I, for IDEA, for college loans, for work study programs, if like the Office of Civil Rights data reporting, like all of these things like require manpower. And if you're just cutting these people off immediately before creating some kind of transition plan, it's going to make all of those systems less efficient in the short and long run.
Yeah,
bro.
Ray running around with his own chainsaw right now.
No, because there's something that you just said that triggered me, and it's kind of somewhat bringing me joy to some degree, right? Because like every year we have this report. It's from the Office of Civil Rights. It's Office of Civil Rights, right?
Oh
like,
yeah.
And I look at this report and. So a couple months back, I get an email. It's like, oh, we're emailing all superintendents. You haven't started this report yet. And I'm just like, why the hell would I do? Why? Why does that even matter at this point with this president? Like, why the hell are we talking about civil rights? Like, what are you even chronicling this for? Like, it makes absolutely no sense. It makes no good sense for me to take my time and my brain power when I could be creating content and doing all kinds of things to change the world to give you this report. Hell no. And so when I saw 7 people that were terminated from New York that work in that office, I wanted to shoot them an email first to acknowledge the fact that like I appreciate the work that they do, because I don't want to gloss over that. Like everybody's job is important, right? Until it's not. But then also, I sent out something on LinkedIn. It's like, yo, there's a lot of talent. Out of those 1,300 people that were just recently terminated, there's PhDs. There's people all across the gambit in terms of their educational contributions. Bro, do you realize like how much people power that could be to local districts if they went back to like local districts, bro?
Maybe.
Wait, what does that mean?
Because look, you and I both know that there's a tremendous amount of decision making made at the state and local level, and what we are seeing is a wildly varying sense of student proficiency, reading levels, math levels, and so to say that, yes, there's a lot of talent going out there, but the place where that talent is most likely to end up is not the places where that's going to solve some of the educational issues that Nate identified, right?
Great
and so
point.
the ones who can feast are going to feast, right? The more powerful school districts with more money are going to attract those high talented individuals, and then what we're going to have is a bunch of folks running around, right? And so Like,
Right.
I get it. I get the desire to want to give more power to the states, but I don't know that then we just need to be comfortable where we're going to have students with wildly different proficiency levels across the country. And if I'm an employer, I'm like, do I even hire staff, potential staff from this state? Because I don't know what they know, right? Given where they're coming from.
That's a really good point, Steve. G, you look like you were.
I had a similar thought about that. Yeah, especially when you just think about the difference in student mastery, student proficiency from Massachusetts to Nevada, or Oklahoma to Connecticut, or what have you. And like, I think that the way the big value add to me in the federal government is establishing a common bar, and providing supports accordingly. And I don't think, to Steve's point, I don't think that those resources will flow in proportion to the need distributed across the country. Like, I don't think the talented folks from the DOE are necessarily going to make their way to help rehabilitate education in New Mexico, for example.
Yeah,
I don't think that's going to happen. And if you're just hoping that they do by just dismantling this department and giving folks like a severance pay and a blank check to go work somewhere else to impact education, I think that's giving people a little bit too much, giving the system too much credit to solve its own problem.
Bro, listen, I'm usually the pessimist, and so for y'all to be out here taking my job this week, man. Like,
I don't know. I mean, how'd that work out for the assessments, right? We remember when we got Common Core, we're like, yeah, so everyone's gonna move to Common Core. We just got to figure out the assessment stuff, and now we said, we'll let the states figure out assessment, right? How'd that work out? Right? I mean, this is the problem.
Yeah,
bro. But then you got people. So listen. So I sent y'all an article about the local things, the local happenings out here. And so if you went into the comments of that article on the Facebook page, you start to see people like really kind of dissect test scores, because they never really do. Like, bro, this is the first time that they've unpacked test scores out here in the last 8 years. I email them once a year, like, hey, we're gonna talk about these test scores, and and they never do. Finally, because they're about to hire a new superintendent, they're like, hey, we need to focus in on these test scores. And you got local taxpayers that are pissed off because it's like, yo, my taxes are going up every year, and this school system is going down. Like, what are you doing with my money, and why you keep asking me for more money? Because money surely is not the fix. Right. And I continue to give you my tax money, and it goes up every year, and the school system still is not good, right?
Yeah.
And we throw an olive branch to them. I've done it before. I haven't done it recently, but I've done it before. I'm like, hey, come see what we're doing, because we have the same kids, and that's the whole. Well, that's the whole debate about charter versus public. Like, for me, if I'm in a school that's underperforming, I don't care if it's private, I don't care if it's charter, I don't care if it's parole, I don't care what it is. If I'm in an underperforming school and someone that is near me is outperforming me, I'm going to humble myself to send some kind of invite or whatever. Like, hey, can I come see what you're doing?
That's right.
Like that's where I am as a leader, and I'm sure G is the same way, because, like, bro, that's how you get better. And so for leaders to be down the road, knowing that they're performing the way they're performing, know that we're here performing the way we're performing, and you don't reach out, I can venture so far as to say, you don't really love those kids.
Yeah. What's that Walt Whitman quote? Be curious, not judgmental, right? I think that's the point, right? Is to be able to say, how do we look at, how do I follow excellence and learn from what other folks are doing, or just not even best practice, but better practice, right? Because no matter how good we're doing, we can always do better with the work that we do. And so, like, I think that's critical, but, like, that's a mindset, right? And I don't know, to the point we were making earlier, is like, you have to have that mindset around education, around a lot of things, but around education. And I'm not certain that that mindset is shared equally across this country. And
Yeah.
so we have to make a decision as a country. Do we want an educated populace that's educated to a certain standard that is valuable to us as an economy, or are we going to allow the Wild West to happen and say, we're gonna have winners and losers in states, and we're gonna be okay with that, and we're gonna be okay with students in some states not being able to do basic college level algebra, and therefore their career prospects are going to be limited that way.
Yeah,
bro, your over pronunciation of the T, I love it. I love that, bro. I was on TikTok last night and somebody said something that pissed me off, and I was like, let me put my West Indian voice on here, and I was like, hello, good night.
Good night.
Gee, you know what I'm talking about.
I do know what you're talking about.
You wildin'.
All right, so we're looking at the the timeline for the layoffs. March 2025, 1,315 workers fired. I know people that was impacted by this. Some people took the package. They retired early. And so, man, this is just tough. So it says 572 workers accepted separation packages, and 63 probationary workers were terminated. And so, question to y'all about the probationary thing, right? It's like, so like, doesn't it make it doesn't make you a little weary to take a job? Like, bro, if I'm not coming in there 10 years, like, I
Yeah.
Yeah. This is an economy where everyone's real comfortable with it, where they're currently working. Oh, I love where I currently work. I'm gonna stay right here.
Yeah.
For the next 3 years, I think I'm good.
I'm good.
I don't love it, but I don't hate it.
Better than other things.
We're gonna have to make it work. That's a thought.
But I mean, I think to G's point earlier, the thing that's interesting to me is like, I think that they are so hobbling some core functions that I'm not certain that they ever recover. Right? It's just like, the amount of institutional knowledge that's being sort of put out the door, right? Who the first people you try to lay off, the highest paid employees, those tend to be the folks who've been in that space the longest, right? They have the biggest tenure. And so how much institutional knowledge is being shifted out of some of these programs? And do we ever get to the point again where those programs can be operated efficiently, right? In a way that makes sense, because there's so much knowledge leaving that door. I worry about, to G's point earlier, like, federal work study and FAFSA and the Pell, like, these are essential programs for our students, and they're either going to take a lot longer to make their decisions, or the decision quality is going to go way down because they just don't have the staff to do it in a responsible way.
Yeah. And so some of the impacted offices, we talked about the Office of Civil Rights, the regional centers, like I talked about earlier, like the regional centers, like New York got hit the hardest. I think they lost like seven of their staff members. And so that hinders the ability to address civil rights issues, which is what they want to do anyway. They are taking the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and they're reversing it. They're using it as reverse racism to go back in history, to rewrite the history books. And it's like, that's crazy, because like these people don't read, so that don't matter anyway.
Yeah.
Judging departments by their name and not their function is what this is.
Yeah.
And then so we got the undermining of core responsibilities. Like, the whole reason why the Department of Education exists is because of stuff like this, because of getting people adequate access, allowing for us to fight for those historically marginalized people. And it's like, basically what you're saying is, F you poor people, F you disenfranchised people, like, we don't give a shit about you. How can we make this better for everybody else, right? It's like, we're tired of being colored.
FU students with IEPs,
Yes.
right? I mean, as the parent of a student with an IEP, does that mean now that my schools have the schools, I have to start choosing schools even more so on their ability and desire to serve my student who has an IEP? Right? Like this is the part of this, right? That we don't talk about it. It's not just, the black and browns that they're trying to sort of come after. Like there are students with like real significant learning challenges that need
100%.
supports. Who's going to make sure that they're getting access to those supports? Or do we say, whatever, we don't care?
Bro, and so like what me and G like to do, right? I feel like I can speak for G on this. When we look at test scores, like we do subgroup data. And so when we look at the subgroup data, we're always looking at not just black and brown students and how they perform, but we're also looking at special education students and how they perform, right? And so if you look, because like here's the deal for me. It's like we can have 98% proficiency, but if the 2% that are not proficient are special education students, then we have failed, right? And so I need for everybody to have that same kind of critical lens, and not everybody does. Like people make the argument, oh well, the general education students, their population is doing fine, so we're doing fine. Like no, the hell you're not. You're not doing fine. Like the job of you as an educator is to make sure that the most vulnerable kids are learning, right?
Yeah.
And that's why all that subgroup, like that's why all those subgroups exist, and they're like put into like there are statutes that require you to report your data according to all of these subgroups, so that you're actually showing that your school is meeting the obligations, expectations of student mastery and proficiency across all of those groups. But that clearly doesn't matter to people anymore.
Well, it doesn't matter. It matters to the people in DC. It still matters to the people in New York State. So shout out New York State. I'm glad. Yeah. This is one of those times, right? Because I'm hard on New York because they do a lot of dumb shit. But this is one of those times where I'm proud to be an educator in New York State, because I know that the Board of Regents is going to continue to have a high bar for schools, right? For charter schools more than other schools, even though it's the exact opposite in people's minds, because that's what they've been brainwashed to think. And so here's what I'll say about that, right? Because I don't want to hog up airtime. Is that in a charter school, if you are granted a charter school, some people will say, oh, there's no accountability for these charter schools. The maximum amount of accountability is, if you don't do your job, I'm going to close your school down. Yeah. And we have seen we've seen some iterations of people getting their charter snatched and schools getting shut down. That is the ultimate accountability.
Yeah. I've seen charters be more likely to be shut down than traditional public schools.
100%.
Right? And so that is the ultimate accountability.
The only time a traditional public school, in my opinion, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, the only time you'll see a traditional public school get shut down is if the budget is not working and there's some sort of downsizing or some kind of budgetary need in order for us to close a school. But it's never, oh, this school's underperforming, let me close it. Like, nah, the community wouldn't stand for it. And I don't understand why our communities, our communities will allow for failure to exist for generations just because of the prestige of a building. Knock that shit down.
No, and it's crazy. You talk about this. The other thing that was sort of shared today was they were also pushing, as part of the new budget package, they're also going to be pushing, because DC Public Schools budget is connected to the federal budget. They're going to push them to take significant cuts in their budget as well as part of the new budget process. And we're talking about the potential of a school district that is already sort of facing significant financial issues, the need for them to potentially have to cut, 40% of their budget. Where does that come? Where do you get that from if you're not closing school down and firing teachers, which means larger classrooms? Like that's the other place where that comes from, right? Those are the two biggest costs: people and facilities, right? And so you're gonna get to a point where you've got what, 40, 50, 60 kids in a classroom in DC if they go through these cuts.
Well, so you got that part, right? But then also when you say that, the immediate red flag for me is that there's a lot of charter schools in DC, and so I know that there's going to be that animus, that charter versus traditional
Yeah.
public school thing that's about to hit the fan in terms of the blame, right? Because it's always the blame. It's always, oh, these charter schools are taking all our kids, and it's not, oh no, these parents are exercising their choice because they don't like what you're doing in the public school. It's never that. I don't understand why that can never be the argument. Like I think we do a terrible job as charter school leaders in terms of the reframe, because like I'm always out here like, well, you know, it wasn't our choice to.
We want traditional public schools to be great too.
Yes.
Until they are.
Yes. Yo, I do this. So to that point, right? We take kids from 16 different school districts.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, our most populous school district is our home sending district. We can't get any of the 15 other districts' kids in our school based off of the amount of kids from the sending district that don't want to be there. So if you get your shit together down there, then we're not gonna have a problem with enrollment. We got people beating on the door. We just want you to fix your problem.
Yeah, I think that's right. And G, you probably have the same thing too, given where you are in the city. There's probably the schools that are closest to you are probably your biggest recruitment places, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's the local middle and elementary schools within a half-mile radius, 3/4 mile. Like that's basic. Like the kids when they come to our school, like a handful of their classmates like, oh yeah, I remember you. Like, oh yeah, it's like kind of like a little reunion.
Kindergarten, right? Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah. Yo, that's wild. Yeah. All right. And so what are y'all's reactions? I mean, I know we've given reactions, but like, did you think it was gonna happen? Like.
Well, I thought this was going to happen because this is the flip side. This is the flip side of them not being able just to shut down the department, right? They're legally not allowed to just shut the department. And so they need to prove that the department is useless. And what better way to prove the department is useless, right? It's win-win for them. They either, cut half the staff and things work efficiently and nothing happens. And they can say, see, 50% fat and we got rid of it, or the programs continue to suffer and be subpar. People start complaining and they're like, see, we should shut down the Department of Ed because nobody likes what they're providing. So like strategically, right, whoever is the mastermind there, this is the best way to accomplish their goals because it's win-win for them in either case. They either cut the fat and everything works perfectly, or they prove that the department can operate and should be scuttled.
Yeah, and the way that they are, like, these cuts are kind of circumventing the rule that they can't actually eliminate all the employees, otherwise they would be, in violation of laws passed by Congress to keep the departments open. Like they're basically just they're following the law by cutting the absolute maximum number of employees to not have the department actually be shut down. But it's like effectively it's like a de facto shutdown of so many departments within the DOE. It's disappointing.
All right,
not surprising.
Not surprising. All right, I'm sending y'all into your final thoughts. G, we'll start with you with the Yale John on you.
Yeah. We most important thing that happened the last 24 hours is that I scored 6 points in the staff versus students basketball game. I had about 4 assists and maybe 18 rebounds because I missed so many shots.
Turned into Reese.
Yeah.
And we saw all 3 made buckets and
dunking on those middle schoolers.
Yo, they don't want these problems, man. They don't want these problems.
Oh man. And I got some problems today, man. 3:00. I'm scheduled to be in the gym for Pie Day, throwing pies at me, bro.
Oh man.
I wish I knew. I would pay for that.
apparently
good
they pay for it
fundraiser.
too because they so it's a fundraiser. And so they're putting money in, buying tickets to put them in the jar. And I look and I'm like, damn, why is my jar the most populated? Like, I don't even know y'all.
Yep.
Steve, final thoughts.
Big East tournament. St. John's plays Marquette today. I'm just excited to watch my Johnnies continue their role, and hopefully they go far into March. I'd love to see them in the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight. I don't think they're a national champion team, but I'd love to see them go far in the tournament.
Bro, it's a historic run happening at St. John. Shout out to y'all.
Mm-hmm.
So my final thought today is for you Tesla owners. So I get these random emails about interest rates and APRs from Tesla. And so right now, Tesla is offering 0% APR for 60 months. That's unheard of in this economy. And the reason why they're doing that is because people are protesting Tesla and people are just not buying those shits. And so I want to encourage y'all. I want to tell y'all to keep the fight up. I want him to be as broke as me. And so if we could boycott his businesses so that he can fix his mind around what the common Americans are going through and the struggles that we have, then shout out to y'all and let's do it. Because let's
do it.
Yeah. Bro is out here, man. Bro's out here stunting on apartheid money, man. And yo, nah, I'm good.
They selling Teslas on the White House lawn now.
Bro, if you Chrysler, Stellantis, if you Ford, or if you GMC with all these American-made cars, you like, damn, what about us?
Yeah. Where's our love? Where's our love?
For real.
All right, fellas. Check out. Peace.